Okay, so the ones in theory you should have been shown. Okay, anterior and posterior glide, effectively. Okay, so forward and back. Yeah, so subtalar, anterior, posterior. Shown any others around the ankle specifically? I'm trying to remember. So inversion. So yeah. So that would be a passive. That would be passive physiological. Yeah. So yeah. So that is something we can't do actively. Yeah. So we'll look at it. But yeah, obviously passive physiological, inversion, eversion, flexion, dorsiflexion. We'll be working through all of those. Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look at a few different ones. So I think certainly when I've shown you, I probably showed some movements around the malleoli. Yeah, so it's like pushing on the malleoli. Remember, you can do these in a few of a range of directions. So fibiotibular glide, okay, rather than doing it around the one malleoli now, okay, we can actually do it on the two at the same time, okay, with a push and a pull. Okay, so if you can get grip round, yeah, and then we're actually moving. Let's just get anterior part of the medial malleoli, posterior part of the lateral malleoli, yeah, and you're just basically putting counteracting forces there. And if you can imagine what that's doing, yeah, you're getting an element of transverse movement between the fibula and the tibia, yeah. So you're actually mobilising through that interosseous membrane, and you're also getting movement around the bones, yeah. And obviously we can then do that at the top as well. So we're getting full kind of translation of this fibula and tibia, yeah. You need to do it in both directions to max it out, yeah? So forward and back, okay, and remember you're not going to see a huge amount on this, yeah? Depending on what your client's like, Mark's, because he's got a bit of a build-up around there, sometimes you can grab around both like that and literally just do it in both directions, okay? If you can't, just do it in one direction first and then flip round, yeah? And then you're looking at doing it in the other direction as well. It's quite difficult on Mark there because he's got his build-up and front of his lateral malleoli, yeah? Okay, so imagine what that's doing underneath, yeah? You can visualise that, yeah? Okay. Right, next one on the list. Okay. So let's do a talocrural distraction. Okay, so distraction, traction manoeuvre, however you want to kind of put the terminology on it. Round two, still need to drink water, Mark.
Hey?
Still need to drink water.
No, I'm drinking as much as I can.
Okay, get your heels of your hand effectively round calcaneus, okay, at the bottom. Okay, fingers right into, just under the transverse arch, yeah? So sort of like just towards the top of the foot. And the movement you're going to make is effectively a scoop, yeah? So I'm actually using the heel of my hand, yeah, to sort of like bring it up, and as I do that, my thumbs are pushing in, okay? So what I'm actually trying to do is open up this talocrural joint, okay, and actually completely distract it, yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah. So just going to go in, grip round. Okay. Some more of the grip round the heel. Yeah. Feel it, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, and you might have to work at it a little bit, okay, because initially you'll just hit a resistance, but just keep going. Okay, focus on pulling with the heel, and then it's that actual push of the forefoot which will really open up the joint, yeah, and really cause the traction, yeah. You want to actually hold it as well, so most traction manoeuvres are actually held. So once you've got it and you feel you've got a nice separation, actually put it in that position and then just hold it, yeah, and just keep it in that traction position for 7 to 10 seconds, yeah. Okay.
Would you do that the other way around as well? Like almost reverse it? Would that be of any benefit?
So I'll show you the manipulation in a second of thrust in a slightly different one. Although it doesn't work a huge amount.
Round. Yep.
Yep.
Subtalar glide, mid-dorsal glide,
To metatarsal glide. Okay, so let's go for. Okay, subtail guide. You just rock onto your side, right, and just keep.
Left side?
Either side will do. I'll just show you. Don't like this one as much. If you bend your bottom leg for it, that's it. Okay, so just might have to just come around there. Okay, so effectively what we're doing on here, okay, we're actually doing around this subtalar joint. Okay, we're actually doing a medial and a lateral glide. Yeah, so we've done forward and backwards. Yeah, now we're looking at displacing it side to side. Okay, so it's not inversion, eversion, yeah, it's translation, side to side, medial to lateral, yeah. So I'm effectively shearing forward and back, yeah. Okay, probably the best position to do it in, okay. If you do it there and let the leg drop onto the couch, that's going to hurt, okay. So try and get your leg under it, okay. Stabilise it, so still getting that stabilisation, because if you don't, that's all you're going to do, yeah. Okay, so stabilise it. Okay, you will have to use a fair bit of force to stabilise it, okay, because you are providing the counter force, so you've got to at least provide enough. And then literally, just medial and lateral movement, okay? You probably won't be able to avoid completely doing a slight bit of inversion and eversion on it, but make sure you can try and get that translation forward and back. Cuboid and navicular. Have you ever had those looked at? Click onto the front. Quite hard to. Sorry, Mark. Onto your back.
The other
front. That's the one. Yeah, the other one. Thanks for bailing me out. Okay. Very, very difficult to mobilise. Clearly, because of the position where they are. Okay. The one position where we can mobilise them is superiorly. Okay. So by actually pushing it back up, and if you think about the weight going through the foot, okay, it's the cuboid and the navicular, okay, which take pretty much all of the weight, okay, before it's dispersed into the foot. So if there is something slightly wrong with the position in the foot, then you'll find that this can have got the capacity to become very, very sore, okay. It's more like a traction, okay, because it's actually pressure which is held rather than actually being a mobilisation, okay. So it's more of a traction, okay, and you will have to use your knuckle for it, okay. The way to identify it, the best place to try and position it, if you position your foot in theory the correct position, yeah, and have an imaginary line coming down through the centre of the lower leg, yeah, and coming out through the ankle, okay, so coming through the sole of the foot, okay, and that is effectively, because of where these bones are meant to be, that is exactly where they're meant to be positioned, okay, so if you imagine this central line coming through, okay, so I reckon around about there is where I'm going to be looking at, yeah, move it onto your knuckle, yeah, and then it's literally stabilise it, and then just in like that one,
Oh, yeah.
okay, and it's just hold, you effectively traction in it, albeit, you know, it's more, well, I suppose it's more of a compression, isn't it, but it's, the position is exactly the same at hold, and it can be extremely uncomfortable, because if you imagine, they've never had that release before, and Mark's had 29 years of actually walking around and sort of like hammering onto like the sole of his foot, it's going to get congested, and never ever released. Yeah. So just in, find the position. The position is probably most important, because you can do it there, pointless, do it there, pointless. It's just going to be uncomfortable. It's just going to kind of just separate the metatarsals. Yeah. So just get that position. Okay. Central line. Okay. You can't really feel it until your knuckles right into it anyway, and then you'll hit it. Yeah, because you've got to go through a fair bit of tissue first. Okay. I'm working, but it was generally reasonably uncomfortable on most people. Yeah, because I dare say most people haven't had it released. Okay, but can also be very, very relieving post. Might be worthwhile for you, right? Yeah. Hands like that.
Noted.
So, yeah, just going around, just controlling his aggression the whole time. Okay, so that is so navicular. cuboid compression. Let's have a think. There's quite a few kind of sweeps for metatarsals, okay, but the kind of things you're probably already aware of, so trying to find the boundaries between them and literally working up, yeah, and fanning out and trying to separate those bones or those joints in there, because we know it gets congested in between, okay. But I'm guessing, certainly if you've done any kind of work on the soles of feet, it's the kind of thing you do reasonably regularly anyway. If you've had problem with the flexors and extensors when you've done your strength testing, yeah, it's sometimes worth doing some mobilisations around the MTP joints around here, okay? So you've got, typically, distraction, yeah? And then you'll also have glides, okay? And if you think about what I'm doing around the knuckle there, so I'm stabilising there, yeah? And then I'm actually pressing in through like the knuckle, okay? And you can do that all the way through, okay? So you've got those medial and lateral glides. You've then also got the actual glide round the second knuckle there, okay? So you've got all of those glides plus distraction on each of the toes, okay? And certainly somebody that's lacking kind of that ability to sort of like hold and strength, it might be that the metatarsals need kind of decongesting and you need some mobilisations in and around the toes and the MTP joints as well. Okay. Okay, Mark, if you flick onto your phone. There is a manipulation for the talocrural joint. It's reasonably difficult to do, and the reason it's difficult to do is because your client will find it very hard to actually relax enough to let you do it. The movement you actually do, okay, I won't do it straight away, okay, the movement you actually do is a pull down and a dorsiflexion of the foot at the same time, okay, so pressure into the midsole, okay, and then it's a pull down at the same time, okay. You can imagine if somebody knows this is coming, okay, they're just going to tense the hamstrings, okay, and you're not going to get that whip motion to enable that high velocity thrust, okay. It works a little bit on that kinematic chain, yeah, because actually we generate momentum, yeah, and then that little whip at the end and that high velocity thrust is the one which actually causes manipulation, okay. So what I tend to do, if I am going to do it, just get some little kind of movement, okay, and then just working it through. Just get a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit in there. Okay. Mark's just kind of guarding a little bit just as I get down towards the bottom. So as soon as that comes in, just work it through. Okay. It doesn't work all the time, but it's worth doing. It's worth trying. Certainly, if you have got that congestion, it's a ray for you. Definitely worth giving it a go. Yeah, to see if it can make it worthwhile. What else we got? We've got a just a regular traction. So just flick over again, Mark. Okay, so we've just got subtalar distraction has got bend, okay, and then you've literally just got just your regular distraction around the joint as well. So just pulling directly perpendicularly out. Okay, slight difference. Okay, just the position of the talocrural and the subtalar there. Okay, but you can actually work around both. It's probably what you need to know around the ankle. I certainly don't use any more than that. There's definitely some within there that I use a lot more. I definitely use the distal tibiofibula a huge amount, okay, to decongest. I definitely use the navicular quite a bit, and I definitely use the actual scoop quite a bit, the subtalar distraction quite a bit as well. Okay, they would be the three that I definitely use often, and the anterior posterior glide, which you're all familiar with your special tests anyway. Okay. But the other ones, you know, certainly if you've identified an issue in and around the ankle, then they're worthwhile doing. All right? Fancy giving them a go?